Watchtower is caught in the act at a construction site of basically building another all-seeing eye impairment building. And I caught them in the act before the building is even finished. So most of my subscribers, you already know about the Denmark Assembly Hall. I had covered this many times on my channel, so I have a lot of other XJW channels. But would you believe that these people are stupid enough to build the same thing again? Right? I mean, isn't that the reason that they sold the building and abandoned it to begin with because they got caught? But these people can't help themselves. So let me get right into it because I'm going to show you how they're in the process of building what appears to be something very similar to what you see on the screen in front of you. So I found this information because on a hunch, I just had a weird feeling about the Ramapo project. They've been working on this Ramapo project since, from what I understand, and 2020 was when they were first trying to get this whole thing together. So on a hunch, I just decided to do some snooping around. And when I looked up the address to the Ramapo project, I just wanted to see what it looked like on Google Earth. So you can search the address. Don't just take my word for it, but search the Watchtower Audio Visual Center Ramapo. And the address that comes up is 155 Sterling Mine Road. So if we take that address and put it into Google Earth, this is where it brings us. So as you can see, there's nothing in the site yet, but it has the same layout as a Denmark Assembly Hall. So you can first notice that obviously it's got the pyramid shape, but there's a lot more that you're going to see as I break this down. Now, for those who are new to my channel and maybe you're not familiar with the Denmark Assembly Hall, let me just show you what the Denmark Assembly Hall looks like on Google Earth. And for my regular subscribers, just bear with me. I know that you guys seen this 1,000 times, but I just have to be thorough by research. So I want to make sure that everybody that watches this video can clearly see what the comparison actually is. So as you can see from above, this is the Denmark Assembly Hall, similar shape. Now, again, for those that aren't familiar with this, I'm just going to show you a couple of quick things. So for those who aren't familiar with this building is made to look like what's called the all-seeing eye pyramid, which is on the back of the dollar bill. And this is a symbol used by secret societies. And this is the eyeball up close. And in the pupil of the eyeball, that is where the stage is for the speaker to stand when giving a talk at this assembly hall. So the speaker is standing directly at the pupil of the eyeball. Obviously, that is not by coincidence. That's a very specific design. And then I broke this down even further because you can see that the way that this assembly hall was constructed, the different roads that they made, the way they cut the grass, the way they cut the trees, that it has the same exact individual lines on the back of the dollar bill. And you could also see where I have circle and it says thick eyebrow. You can see that the trees are planted to make the thick eyebrow that's also on the back of the dollar bill. And the pupil of the eyeball is in the exact same place that it is on a secret society symbol. So scientifically, these are impossible odds the Jehovah's Witness could have constructed this building by accident. It's actually impossible. Now, for those that want to know more information about that, I had a conspiracy expert, one of the world's best, and I showed him all of this evidence and some other evidence, and I got his honest opinion on it. Now, for some reason, there's XJWs that insist on trying to make videos to try to make you think that it's stupid to believe there's any conspiracy with Jehovah's Witnesses and Freemasons and the Illuminati and all that stuff. But just for the record, that this expert that I had on my show is far more intelligent in these areas than any XJW, including myself. So don't listen to any of these XJWs that have some sort of agenda to try to tell you that it's stupid to believe this stuff. You can watch this video on my page or listen to what a real expert says, and his name is Ole Demmergaard for those who know him. So if you want further information on this particular subject, you can find this video on my page titled Watchtower Conspiracy Expert Weighs In. So now let me get into this Ramapo project. So when you look at these side by side, you can clearly see it's the same setup. Now, some may say this is a coincidence, but you can't deny the fact that it's the same setup. It's a pyramid shape, right? The tip and it goes down to the base. No question about it. On their website, you can search this video, 2023 Ramapo Construction Project Update. And I'm going to play just a clip of this update and notice what they say about the trees and notice how it looks when they're cutting down the trees to shape this property.
In the state of New York, there's only a certain season where you can take trees down.
We're only allowed to remove trees between November and the end of March.
And the town board approved the special permit for us to be able to cut the trees. However, when we went to exercise that permit, we realized that another agency still had to give their permission for us to be able to use it, which we didn't get.
Originally, we had planned about 12 weeks to do all of this work.
And that 12 weeks included using mechanized equipment.
If that wasn't accomplished, we would be waiting an entire year to be able to cut those trees. Well, the window started closing from 12 weeks to 8 weeks, all the way down to 6 weeks.
And then somehow something in the permitting language opened our eyes to a new possibility that allowed us to take the trees down in a different way.
We got permission to cut the trees, but we had to cut the trees all by hand.
And in 4 weeks, we used an outside contractor to take down all the trees that we needed.
2 weeks early of the end of the tree cutting season.
Every single day.
Now notice the way those trees look. Right, so this is what we know that they did so far at this site. Even though that they don't seem to have any buildings up, we can see that they already started to shape this site by cutting all these trees down. So just notice the way that these trees look. Now, I'm not a geologist, so I mean, I can't say for a fact what tree branches look like after trees are cut down, or brush, or maybe there's some actual trees still standing. But if you look at this again and you look where I have highlighted black, it looks like what we can see on the right side are the same trees that they had cut down, or brush, whatever's left of those trees, that they showed in the video. Now, let me know if I'm wrong, because again, I'm not a geologist. I can't say exactly, like from above, like the way that I'm looking at it, to me, that looks like all the tree branches that it showed them cutting down. So the reason I'm mentioning this is because when you put in the address to the Ramapo project the land that Jehovah's Witnesses own, this is where it brings you. So again, it doesn't look like they put up any buildings yet. Now, this pyramid shape, if you look at the left side of it, there is a street already there. So I'm not trying to say that witnesses put that street in, that road. Obviously, that road was already there. But if you look at the right side of the picture looks like all the construction, where the construction is taking place, where they're clearing out the trees. Right? As you can see on the left side, there's nothing going on there, but everything's going on the right side. So now if you look at the right side of that pyramid, that is where you can see it was done. That they cut the trees and laid the road out to make that pyramid shape. Now, let me know if you think I'm seeing this wrong, but that's what it looks like to me. But we do know that they were on site and they were cutting all those trees down. So now look at the trees from the video, look at the landscape, and look at the left side, the pyramid, right? It appears that those are the exact trees that the witnesses cut. So if I'm correct about this, then what the witnesses did on his land so far is they basically made the right side perfectly straight to make a pyramid. Right? Again, I'm not saying that they put the road in on the left side, but they chose this land for a reason. And the only thing the witnesses did so far is basically cut those trees down and make a pyramid, right? And the closer you look on the image on the left, that's what it looks like to me. It looks like the same brush from what the witnesses cut. So now I'm going to go into this even deeper. So the first thing to notice is that on a Denmark Assembly Hall, you have the clear pupil of the eyeball, which is where the stage is at, on a Denmark Assembly Hall. And then on the Rammerpole site, if you look at where the arrows point to, so not the GPS location, not the pin location that says Sterling Mine Road, but if you look at the arrow and exactly where the tip of the arrow is pointing, there's like a grayish circle that looks like it's the same size as the one from the Denmark Assembly Hall, like the same proportions, and it's a pupil looking thing that is exactly where the eyeball would be. So, I mean, I don't even know what that is that I'm pointing out, but we have a circle right where their eyeball is on a Denmark Assembly Hall. So those are weird odds, right? It's already odd that the witnesses purchased this land. That's already odd. And then it's odd that the only thing they've done so far is cut the trees to make a pyramid shape on the right, making that straight line down. And then there just happens to be what looks like something the dimensions of a pupil of an eyeball in the same spot. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is if you notice the GPS location, so when you put this address in on Google Earth, for some reason, Watchtower wants their address to be where the pupil of the eyeball is. So when you look at the address for the Denmark Assembly Hall and go to Google Earth, they pin that address right where the eyeball is at. Right? Not right on the eyeball, but right in that location. So what are the odds that with this site, when you put in the address, it brings you to the eyeball? Right? So it's just weird that on both of these sites that the address that's registered to Jehovah's Witnesses, that they want the pin location to be right where the eyeball is at. That's kind of strange that it's in both of the same spots. So then if you go down to the bottom left corner where I have a circle there, what you'll notice is that unlike the pyramid on the back of the dollar bill, the left corner kind of makes a curve, right? It curves in. So that's a little weird shape because again, that doesn't specifically match the pyramid on the back of the dollar bill. And when I first noticed that on the Denmark Assembly Hall, I didn't think much of it. I just thought, okay, well, they didn't get it perfect, right? So it's not going to be a perfect pyramid. So I kind of brushed that off as it's just not perfect. But when I looked at this Ramapo site and seen that curve in the same exact spot on the left side, like right at the same spot, that's when I realized, okay, there's something significant about that because what are the odds statistically? I mean, think about it. Witnesses own property over the whole world. What are the odds that they pick a site to build this audio center and they pick this site that already got like a pyramid shape going on, but then like it's got that same curvature at the bottom left? Like, and then it goes up like a perfect pair. Like, those are impossible odds. So there's something with that curvature on the bottom left. I don't know exactly 100% what it is, but they both have the same thing. So that's very odd. And then the last thing I want to point out with this is that if you look at where I have the highlighted rectangle, so in a Denmark Assembly Hall, it almost looks like part of the hall is kind of like cut straight down. Where almost like somebody like sliced part of it in half is kind of what it looks like. But again, that's something that I've always thought with the Denmark Assembly Hall that it's just not perfect, right? Maybe the way the bushes are grown in, like it's changing the shape or something, or they screwed up somewhere. But then when I noticed on the Ramapo project that on the bottom right, it does that same distortion. Like it starts to go straight down in a perfect pyramid shape, but then it looks like it gets disrupted. So that's another weird thing. I don't know what that means, but why do they both even have that same, like where the pyramid gets distorted and the shape disappears, right? Like it's all messed up. And when witnesses cut the trees to make the pyramid, why did they stop on the bottom right corner where they did? Why didn't they make a perfect straight pyramid down further? And then you see the same thing with the Denmark Assembly Hall. So I don't know exactly what all these things mean, but if you look at these two images, and again, witnesses got property all over the world. So when you look at these two images, what are the odds that they just happen to build or building their audio center and the layout is the exact same as that? That's impossible, right? But what we do know for a fact is that we've seen the video of the witnesses cutting the trees on that site to make the pyramid. So this XJW channel, Marcy XJW, she has a video on her page titled Shocking Expose the Ouija board symbol at the Danish convention site. So I always like to give credit. You know, I never take credit for other people's work. So this is something that she discovered. So she feels, and you can watch this video, that the Denmark Assembly Hall is meant to be the pointer on a Ouija board. So Ouija board has this pointer. That's the thing that moves and points out and spells the letters for you. So she's saying that the Denmark Assembly Hall, she believes, is actually the Ouija board pointer. Now, clearly, it's the all-seeing eye. There's no doubt about that. But could this have multiple subliminal messages? So the reason I wanted to take a look at what she said is because I mentioned before that curvature on the bottom left. And when I seen that the Ramapo site had that same curvature on the bottom left, that's when I thought, okay, there's something significant about that. So that's when I wanted to look into what that other XJW said about the Ouija board pointer. So if you see on the left or on the right that, I mean, one, it does got the pyramid at the top, right? And it's got the circle in the middle for the eyeball. But notice the curvature on the bottom left on the Ouija board pointer. it's the same as the assembly hall, but this is what really makes me think that XJW Marcy is onto something because the second arrow is more telling, right? So you already have the curvature on the bottom left. But then if you look at the bottom, it kind of goes like in like a loop and then it goes inward, right? So it comes from the to the left, it starts to make that curvature, and then it goes around like a half circle, then it goes up and a little bit. So that is really strange that the Ouija board pointer is even got that same dimensions on the left side. Now, the Denmark Assembly Hall doesn't look like it does it on the right side, but that's very significant that that's there. So then when I see the Ramapo site, it has that same curvature at the exact same spot as the Denmark Assembly Hall. I think there's something to that. And what's interesting is that the pyramid on the back of the dollar bill, it doesn't have that curvature on on the bottom like there are on the sides. So could that curvature actually be also a reference to the Ouija board? But make no mistake about it, just to make it clear, this assembly hall, it is made to look like the all-seeing eye and pyramid. That's undoubtable. But with a lot of subliminal messages, they have multiple meanings and multiple symbols. So I honestly think the fact that the Ramapo project made it a point to have that curvature and it matches the exact dimensions of the Ouija board pointer, I think that it probably is referencing that as well. And it's really hard to believe that that's a coincidence, right? When you look at it up close, I mean, it does have the shape of the Ouija board pointer. So I don't know what's going to happen with the Ramapo project if you're going to start to see more shapes to it. Maybe they're going to shape the bottom to make it look more like the Ouija board. I don't know, but clearly that's a very odd coincidence. And you know what? With this organization, I don't give them the benefit of doubt anymore. So with something like this, I'd say that it's pretty suspect. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. So this is a current picture of what the Denmark Assembly Hall looks like now. So one of my subscribers went to the Denmark Assembly Hall on location, right? This is not a photo from the internet. This is not just a photo somebody grabbed. This subscriber went to this place in person and took pictures and emailed them to me. Right. So I just want to say that I think I have the coolest XJW subscribers because nobody's going on places like this, right? Nobody's going on location, right? Who goes to the Denmark Assembly Hall and actually takes pictures of it? But so I appreciate this person for sending me these pictures, and I do have the coolest XJW subscribers. But when you look at this picture, you can see that the place is basically destroyed, right? It's damaged. It's not kept up with. And here's a closer picture where you can see all the cracks in the ground, the weeds coming up. I mean, what type of assembly hall of Jehovah's Witnesses ever looks like this? Now, everybody knows that witnesses, they keep up with their buildings meticulously, right? Witnesses always brag about how well kept their buildings are. And when witnesses sell their buildings, they always sell their buildings for a profit because they're in tip-top shape. Witnesses don't ever sell a building in this condition. An assembly hall, like witnesses, after they have conventions, they all have to clean, right? All the free labor, slave labor is what it actually is. So you know what it's like when we went to conventions as Jehovah's Witnesses? We we kept these things clean, 100%, tip-top shape. So what the hell happened to this place? Why would the organization let it be destroyed like this? Right? I mean, look at this. Have you ever seen a Jehovah's Witness convention hall that looks like this? And look at all the holes in the glass, right? Like it became a baseball stadium, right? Like people hitting home runs and just balls going through the glass, right? I mean, look at this. Why would the organization let this happen? So there's a couple things that I want to mention about this. You see, we know as Jehovah's Witnesses that all their buildings, one, they're kept up 100%. An assembly hall would never look like this, never look like this. And even when they sell old kingdom halls, they flip those kingdom halls. Like they always make sure that, I mean, again, all the labor is free anyway, right? Free slave labor. So when witnesses sell buildings, they sell them in tip-top shape. Now, this is an assembly hall. So assembly halls, they're worth millions of dollars, right? This is commercial property. So, even when they sell kingdom halls, they make a pretty good profit out of it. But when a witness sells an assembly hall, you're talking about millions of dollars. So there's two things wrong with this. It doesn't matter which way you look at it. The first way to look at this is, why would witnesses let this building get like this and sell it? Right? We know that would never happen. These buildings are worth millions of dollars, and witnesses always maximize their profit. So they would never sell a building like this, and the building would never get like this. So that's suspicious. Now, the other option you might say is, maybe you'll conclude that, well, they sold the building in tip-top shape, and then the next owner basically let it get like this. Right? Now that would make sense, but here's the problem with that. Again, this is an assembly hall, so this would be sold for millions of dollars if it was a normal sale. So for witnesses to sell an assembly hall, commercial property like this, that should be in tip-top condition. So if the witnesses didn't sell it like this and it was in perfect condition, who would buy a building like this for millions of dollars and let it get trashed and not use it? Right? This is expensive property. So see, this doesn't fit the profile. Right? I mean, think about when the witnesses sold their headquarters at Brooklyn. It don't look like this. Right? Whoever brought the building in Brooklyn, which we already know who that is, but nobody's going to buy a building for millions of dollars and let this happen to it. So now I'm going to speculate on what I think is going on. This is the only thing that makes sense to me. So one, the witnesses, either they trashed this building on purpose. Maybe they trashed it and then they sold it. Or even if they sold it before it got trashed, I still think the witnesses are responsible for trashing this building. So whether they sold it like this or it got trashed after they sold it, what I think the witnesses are trying to do, or Watchtower, is they want this building to be destroyed to the point where it's unrecognizable. Unrecognizable so that witnesses will never even know what this building actually was. Right? That's the whole reason they stopped using it to begin with. Once the information circulated online, that it's the all-seeing eye and pyramid from above, that's when they stopped using the building, and apparently they sold it shortly after that. So that's what I think. So whether they destroyed it first and then sold it, or they hired somebody to destroy it after they sold it. But that's what I think is going on. So, and again, what kind of owner would buy a building like this and let this happen to it if it wasn't already like that? Well, to me, it looks like what they call a short sale. You know, when someone is maybe getting their house foreclosed on or something, and they want to just try to sell the house just to get out of it. Or you know what, that may not be that they're getting their house foreclosed on. There's other reasons why people may do a short sale. But you know, when you get a short sale, when someone's just making a sell real quick with a house, they're just get rid of it, get it off their hands. That's what this looks like. It looks like a short sale. It looks like the witnesses said, "Hey, we need to get this building the hell off of our hands. Right? We need to hurry up and get rid of the evidence. Right? We just need to get rid of this piece of junk." Right? But as you know from being a Jehovah's Witness, that that doesn't match the profile of Jehovah's Witnesses. They never just let property like this go. Every Kingdom Hall is sold for a profit. Every assembly hall that they do part with is sold for millions of dollars. Right? So they don't do short sales. And anyone that buys Jehovah's Witness property that should be in tip-top condition is not going to let this happen. So what I personally think is that the sale of this building, I think, is very fraudulent. I think that they legally just got rid of it somehow, sold it to, but whoever bought the building obviously had no intention of actually using it, right? It's like the Watchtower just found a way to wash their hands clean of it, right? But that's what I think. The witnesses want this building to be so unrecognizable that in 5 years from now, if you try to show Jehovah's Witness at Denmark Assembly Hall, they're going to say it's an apostate lie, right? They're going to say, "What are you talking about? That piece of junk, like that was not an assembly hall." Like, and that's what I think. They want to destroy this so it's unrecognizable. Now, before anybody says that they spotted a ghost in the photo, I just want to say, if you see what I have circled right there, it's not a ghost, but you can see that that's my subscriber's reflection in the window as he was taking his picture. So I just want, again, I want to give a thanks to the subscriber that sent me these pictures. And again, I got the coolest subscribers on any XW channel, right? Nobody else subscribers is going to Denmark and taking pictures of this building and sending them to me. So, I appreciate that very much, because you know what? If he didn't send me these pictures, we wouldn't even know that this building is being destroyed on purpose, right? But now we can see that Watchtower, once again, is just trying to get rid of the evidence. And what this reminds me of is the pyramid at Charles Taze Russell's grave. It's the same idea, right? Once this started to circulate online, this big Illuminati Freemasonic pyramid with Watchtower's name on it and Charles Taze Russell's name on it, what did they do? They sent a bulldozer there to rip the thing out of the ground, right? Because they got caught. It was circulating online. And it's the similar mindset with the United Nations, same idea, right? They were in the United Nations as an NGO for 10 years. And as soon as the Guardian exposed it and posted an article, they what did they do? They got rid of the evidence. They pulled out of the United Nations. And to me, this is what this feels like with the Denmark Assembly Hall. It's the same playbook from Watchtower. They do the same thing all the time. It's the same thing. They've destroyed the Denmark Assembly Hall, or they let it get destroyed, and they sold it. And they're hoping that it will become so destroyed that it'll be unrecognizable, and then it'll be an apostate lie, right? Just like the pyramid, right? Some witnesses will probably tell you that that's an apostate lie. There is no pyramid at Charles Taze Russell's grave, right? Because they got rid of it. Same thing with the Denmark Assembly Hall, and same thing with the United Nations. So the big question is, after they did all that with the Denmark Assembly Hall, right? They trashed it, they sold it, they got it off their hands, they lost a bunch of money because obviously they didn't get a lot of money off of selling in that condition. So after they go through all that trouble to get rid of this Denmark Assembly Hall, to try to pretend it had nothing to do with it, what the hell are these people doing? Why are they doing the same exact thing? Like, do they want to get caught again? Like, what are these people doing? So, and I've explained this before, but basically the reason why I believe that you can see they're doing the same thing. I don't know what this is going to look like when they're done with it, but what you can see is that people that are devil worshippers, and I've explained this before, and I know it's hard for even some XJWs to accept the fact that this is a demonic cult, but the people at the top, they have to keep doing these things as part of their rituals. And perhaps maybe maybe because they got rid of the Denmark Assembly Hall, maybe Satan is mad, right? Maybe Satan says, "Hey, that was a monument to me," right? Like maybe they owe whatever entity they're serving, right? So maybe because they got rid of the Denmark Assembly Hall because they got caught. Maybe it's whatever deal they have with these demons that they're serving, that like they have to build another structure, right? I don't know why, but why would they be so stupid to build the same exact thing? But again, that's how these devil worshippers, that's how they behave. They have to keep doing these things. They have to keep putting these clues out on who they really are. And again, they probably have to offer the same thing up to Satan because they destroyed the Denmark Assembly Hall. So as you can see that this project is still in construction. Who knows where the buildings are going to be at, what's going on. I mean, the buildings may not even be in the all-seeing eye pyramid thing. It could be around it. I mean, they might not do the exact same thing they did in Denmark, but I want to put this information out because you don't really catch them in the act with stuff like this too often. Usually when we find this kind of stuff, it's already done. But this Remipro project is going slow. It's not going as fast as they wanted it to go. So this information I think needs to be spread out because I think everybody needs to catch them while they're in the act, right? So you can see the layout, you can see all the similarities with the Denmark Assembly Hall. It's impossible that that's not on purpose. We already know that they cut the trees on the right side to make the pyramid shape. We've seen the video on their website of them cutting those trees down, and you can still see in Google Earth the same trees they cut down are still there. So whatever their plan is, I think every XJW needs to watch this closely and see what they end up doing with this site.